Welcome to the TechFace podcast. We at TechFace are all about connecting female tech communities with companies to support their members finding a meaningful career in tech. In this podcast, we interview women who have a career in tech to inspire your own journey. Let's listen to our next guest on this episode. Today we can welcome Andreea Hossmann. We have been introduced through your manager, and I met him at an event last year in regards to artificial intelligence, and this is how I met you. So maybe first you give us a quick introduction about yourself and tell us what's your current position and how you got into tech.
Sure. First of all, thanks a lot for having me. It's a pleasure to be able to tell my story and perhaps to contribute somehow to more people getting into tech. I'm currently a product manager for data analytics and AI at Swisscom. I'm also working with Swisscom Ventures as a venture associate to assess artificial intelligence startups worldwide. I've been with Swisscom in various positions for about 3.5 years. I started out as a data scientist, and then I got the chance to assemble from scratch and to lead a data science team working on artificial intelligence topics, such as natural language understanding and search. And before that, I did research on network science and computer networking, applying machine learning to these domains at ETH in Zurich.
Okay, so you were studying before you started working with Swisscom at
Yes,
ETH.
exactly. Well, I mean, I was doing a doctoral degree, so I think some people consider this work, some people consider this still being a student.
So how did you get into tech? Like, what were you studying before you did your doctoral degree at ETH?
I actually always loved math and science in general. Even as a child, I was participating in different competitions, which is kind of a tradition in Romania, where I originally come from. And then it came naturally to study engineering. I studied first 2 years of general engineering course, and then another 3 of specialized in telecommunications. This was in France, and after this went on to the PhD.
That sounds quite interesting. But what made you then choose really tech? So you mentioned math and science. I mean, you could have gone in a different direction as well, especially in the science area. So what made you to go into machine learning as well?
So machine learning, this was not really a choice from the beginning. It just kind of came somehow naturally from doing research and having to analyze data and having to understand those data. And then why engineering? I think there was also a factor of what was perceived as successful in the Romanian culture. And the engineering profession is, in our culture, one of the most respected ones, and one that really, even in a, let's say, developing country like Romania, affords you quite good perspectives. So it was a direction that also my parents very much encouraged, even though I, like you said, might have had other options and other interests.
Okay, that sounds interesting. I didn't know about this in Romania. But you were then also studying in France, right? If I understood it right.
Yes.
So you studied in Romania, France, and Switzerland.
And the US in the meantime.
Okay. And what did you think about the difference then between these countries when you say that being an engineer was quite respected in Romania? Did you have the same experience in the other countries?
Yes, absolutely. But I think the difference between engineering and other professions were not as big as in Romania.
One part is that your parents basically empowered you to go into this direction. But was there also something else you would say helped you to choose being within science and the math area as well, and then later on in the tech industry? What was the approach for you to get into these topics?
I also saw it kind of a good compromise between all the technical topics that I was interested in, and the more, let's say, human aspects of science. I was also very interested in languages. Again, with all the academic competitions that we had going, I was not only participating in math and chemistry and all the other technical stuff, but also in English and French. And so when I finished high school, I was personally a bit torn between going more towards the language domain versus like my parents expected of me. And I also actually found it interesting, telecommunications or computer science or things like this. And so for me, the compromise was telecommunications, because I thought, okay, it's a technology that is enabling people to communicate, which is also what language is for. And so there was kind of a good combination there.
That sounds really nice, that you could have both of your passion brought into one domain or one area you studied.
Yeah, exactly. And also then the fact that I was able to study abroad contributed even more to the language part, because I was able really to immerse myself at first in the French language and culture, and then also in the US and in Switzerland.
So when we look at it today, what do you love about your job you're doing right now? What is it that makes you get up in the morning and go to work?
It's not, I think it's not necessarily related to the technology itself. It's much more related to how we use the technology to help people and to make a difference in the world with it. I think at Swisscom we're quite fortunate to be able to do this to what I consider a very good degree. So first of all, we are contributing to connecting people to one another by operating and building up the network for Switzerland. But on the other hand, we're also a company that is very, I think, socially responsible. So we have a lot going on in different areas, like educating children about digital media and making sure that we operate in a carbon neutral way, and all of these things that for me have a very big importance. And where as an employee we are quite free to contribute to them in our own way.
That sounds really good. You also mentioned before that you work for Swisscom Ventures, which is an area where you work in new technology, new innovation, and with startup, if I understood it right. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit more about this part?
Sure. So Swisscom Ventures has the mission to find startups that kind of fit our Swisscom strategic direction and to invest in them, and eventually also to perhaps be able to include these technologies in our own portfolio or to use them internally. And in order to do this, there is a very important collaboration that needs to happen between the Swisscom Ventures team and different experts from different areas around Swisscom, such that these experts can evaluate whether that technology or that company can really bring something to Swisscom and to our work. And this is the role that I'm playing there.
Oh, sounds very interesting. How were you able to get this role? How did you get into this role? Was it you that you approached certain people within the company, or were you approached by these people to join the Ventures team?
I was approached. So they were the ones who came up with this idea. They recently started a new fund where it's not only Swisscom contributing, it's also other external financial partners. And I think one of the distinctive features of this fund was precisely that it was created to rely on Swisscom's expertise in order to be able to really deeply evaluate the technologies that we're investing in.
Okay, so when we look at this, where do you see then the future of technology? So working now with all these ventures, I'm sure you have some kind of indication where technology is going in the future. What is your take on that?
I think that's a really interesting, but also a very big question. I cannot claim completeness on my answer because I only have a very limited view. I work mostly on artificial intelligence topics, and well, it's quite clear, I think, for everyone by now that artificial intelligence has so many applications in so many different areas that certainly, at least in the next, I don't know, 5 to 10 years, we'll be very busy with making these applications happen. And it's already started, it's happening right now, but it doesn't happen overnight, right? So there will be a build-up phase. And then beyond that, I think we're at a very interesting point in human evolution where it's really difficult to look beyond that horizon because things are moving so fast that anything we say is probably complete speculation and has no ground in reality. I wouldn't venture past 5 years.
That's true, actually. But I know from a lot of our members and listeners, they very interested into artificial intelligence and also what's happening in this area. So what would you recommend them when they are looking to move into this area or get a job in this area? What is your recommendation to approach this?
I think it depends very much on the type of job that they're looking for on the one hand, and on the other hand, also on the expertise that they already have. So to address the first point, most software, even not specific to artificial intelligence, most software products right today are built in cross-functional teams. So you can contribute to technology not only as a developer or as a data scientist, but also as a designer, for example, or as a manager, or as, I don't know, someone who is an expert in psychology in order to understand what the people that you're building for really want and how they think and so on. So this is one aspect. What exactly is the role that you're looking for? And the second aspect is, what is your current position and your current expertise? For example, if you're working in, I don't know, life sciences, let's say, it will be much easier to take your expert knowledge in this domain and combine it with a little bit of basic knowledge about the most popular methods in machine learning and really be able to have considerable impact just by doing this.
That sounds really good, because I think this is something that scares a lot of people off, that they think they don't have the right expertise or knowledge yet to approach a job in this area. But there are a lot of opportunities. And even if you have expertise in a different area, it gives you the possibility to go and look out for jobs in for example, the AI
Absolutely.
technology.
It's unavoidable, in my opinion. So.
Yeah, I can agree to that. Absolutely. Great. So before we close this interview now, I would like to ask some speed questions. So you just give me the answer that comes straight into your mind. So first of all, who is your favorite female role model?
I know it's a speed question, but I don't think I can give one answer because I admire different features in different people that I consider role models, but I cannot say that I have one person that I consider as a whole what I want to be. For example, I admire my mom for her resiliency and for her determination, which she also transmitted to me. I admire famous people like Christine Lagarde for her whole career, Michelle Obama for the same, my physics teacher for her passion about physics, my cousin for her passion about math, and so on. So it's different things from different people.
What is your most important skill?
That would be resourcefulness, definitely. I think regardless of the area that you work in, the ability to keep calm in any situation and come up with a quick and maybe not the best, but the best for that moment solution is definitely invaluable.
And the last one, what is the best advice you were ever given to?
Thinking back, I don't think I can put my finger on any concrete advice. It's probably something very specific. I don't know, maybe something out of my PhD where my advisor told me to go this or that way. But I think the most valuable thing that I've learned so far is just take the time to figure out for myself what I want to do and what will make me happy, because no one can tell you this.
That's absolutely true. And with this, I would like to thank you very much for your time and all the valuable insight you gave us today. Wish you all the best for your career.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me, Priska.
Thanks for tuning in today and listening to this inspiring talk on TechFace podcast. Want to be the first to know about the next episode or get first-hand access to our events? Join TechFace and sign up today on techface.ch. As a new member, you will get a free career coaching call and will always be the first to know about exciting events, news and insights. We look forward to welcoming you as our valued member.